What is up, YouTube? It's Kingfisher745, and welcome to your daily dose of beta day 12. On day 12, we are going to continue our Q&A, so let's go ahead and get into the battles and into the questions. By the way, we once again log into a positive rating. That just never gets old. Oh, and one other thing before we start, it was announced that there's going to be a third preseason. But no, unfortunately I won't do a daily dose for that. Instead, I'm going to focus on bringing back old series. So yes, you should see some new episodes soon. As for our first question, it comes from I have no idea 451. Is it Xanxus? Anyways, they want to know which is the ideal weapon to use for a bleed team. And how about a hemorrhage team? Now there are quite a few weapons, but I myself happen to use the Crooked Grin. It has Desperation Attack, so it does more damage the lower your health is. It also has hemorrhaging and causes bleeding. But seriously, the list is almost never ending for bleed weapons. For example, the Custom Sword of the Barony, the Cat's Claws, the Cruel Glaive, Tactical Knife, the Exsanguinator, Saber-Tooth's Claws, Rocket Pistol. Basically what I'm saying is bleed teams is one of the easiest teams to build. Just make sure to have fun and experiment for yourself. That way you can find out which combinations work best for you. Next, Corey Parrington asks, any free setups for beta? Well, it's funny that you ask because there is a weapon that you can get by opening lockboxes, Kang lockboxes to be exact, and this weapon is called the Manvantara. If you're lucky enough to get it, it's an AoE attack that has Opportunist, it ignores most avoidance effects, and it does not trigger protect abilities. This type of weapon is perfect for PvP beta. I haven't used it, but I do have confirmation from two Agent Dans, they're friends of mine, and they said this weapon can wipe an entire team. Next, Daniel Pereira wants to know, Squirrel Girl and Nico will be available again. Basically, who would I choose between the two? I think that Squirrel Girl can be great, but you should probably get Nico. She's better in a lot more situations, and she can help you take down opponents with much better bonuses. Next up, Rusty 10070 is wondering why isn't Professor X on here yet, and what DC character would you want to be Marvel? Well, for some reason I remember hearing that Professor X wasn't going to be in Marvel Avengers Alliance. I mean, not as a playable character. I'm really not sure why he's not in the game, but he is very powerful. Honestly though, who knows, they may add him down the line. And what DC character do I wish was Marvel? I think the easy choice would be Batman, but I kind of wish that Hal Jordan Green Lantern was. Seriously, just imagine his abilities and all those different constructs they could come up with. Then Hope says, love your videos, Kingfisher. Well, thank you very much. But their question is, do you think Stan Lee will get a cameo in the game? You know what, that's a great question and I really hope so. That's something that PD should definitely look into doing. It would be epic. SACG Games wants to know, who is a better pair for Pestilence Beast on defense? Well, I definitely think that first setup with Iron Patriot, the Signpost Hotshot, Blade of the Guardian, and the Rectifier would easily be the best team on defense out of those two. That definitely goes for beta, but even in a regular season. Next, Jolly Jinbei asks, what two heroes in the game do you think have the best synergy and why? The best synergy, wow, that's really tough. You know what, let's go with Wasp and Hank Pym. But really, there's way too many characters with synergy to choose from. And what's the best way to get ISO 8? Well, I'm not really sure what you mean. What type of ISO 8 are we talking about? Flavio Alves says, Wolverine or Ghost Rider? I'm going to go with Wolverine. If I had Ghost Rider Z ISO, I may say him, and if you would have asked me back in Season 2, Ghost Rider was one of my main characters. Oh, and I mean PvP Season 2. Next question, Fighter5717 wants to know, what do you think could be done to increase the variety of heroes used in PvP? Well, that's a tough one to answer. In order to make more heroes viable, they would have to buff them to be on par with what would be the overpowered heroes right now. Most likely though, that's just going to make a new set of characters OP. I'm sure it's extremely difficult to balance, and I do think that the EISO and AISO are making more heroes viable. Another method could be more team-up bonuses, but to be honest, some heroes and some abilities are just going to be more suited for PvP than others. I guess all they can really do is be reactionary, and when one character becomes too strong and makes up a huge percentage of the meta, then they need to introduce another hero or ability or weapon that counters them. The next question from Air Ald is, what do you think about the Manvantara, and do you think it's the new subtle gun? I actually think it's better than the subtle gun, and that's in large part due to temporal. This weapon has opportunist, and it ignores most avoidance effects, and does not trigger protect effects. So yes, like I said, it's much better than the gun. Next, Brian asks, if Gambit got an alt, what would he be, Tactician or Blaster? I could see him being either one, but I would really hope for a Tactician. A Gambit Horseman of Death Tactician costume. Now that would be sweet. Then we have a question from a Magical Potato. They ask, what would you rather have banned forever, Spec Ops, Season 2, or PvP? While if any of those were banned, it would really hurt my channel. But if I have to choose one, it would be PvP. That's the only thing that really makes me mad at times, or frustrates me, or that sometimes I don't even feel like playing. Then Nicholas has 3 questions. 1. Can you tell me what your best 3 teams you've used in Marvel? Well, let's go back to my first ever Adamantium season, Season 2. I used Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider. I have to admit that was more about my setup than my team, but they did work very well. Next, I suppose it would be Phoenix and anyone. Phoenix was absolutely amazing to use, and anyone who watched my videos back then knows that I used her on pretty much every single team. It almost didn't matter who you paired her with, but for a time she was awesome with Cyclops. Then I'm going to go with a tie between Quicksilver and Juggernaut, and Dr. Voodoo and Emma Frost. They just performed very well in PvP, and Quicksilver and Juggernaut were my go-to on defense for quite a while, and Emma Frost and Dr. Voodoo hardly ever lost on offense. Then what is the best weapon you have used so far? Well, I don't think the cube counts, so it's between the Warbringer Axe and the Hotshot. And lastly, King, what is the best hero you have used? Well, that's a tough one to answer because it has changed over time. I would love to say Spidey. Quicksilver would be a pretty honest answer, but I do have a love-hate relationship with that one. Both Havoc and Heroic Age Iron Fist would have to be up there, but I'll go ahead and say Phoenix pre-nerf. Now, to be honest, with all the resurrection stopping effects and weapons and heroes that have those effects, I don't even think she would be that amazing. So you know what, after thinking about it, let's change our answer to Heroic Age Iron Fist. And that's going to be it for this video and this Q&A. I'd like to thank you all for watching and ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, good luck and take care.